Flat tire. I was still almost 10 miles from my appointment. Darn it. Refunding 100 tickets at $15 a pop was not how I wanted tonight to go. Canceling this gig would look bad. Real bad. It sucks having a tagline of "Let me take your life from 0 to 60, and then you have car trouble." The highway was empty except for me and the cold. January winds gnawed at my fingers as I popped the trunk and stepped out of the car. As I was fumbling around looking for the spare, I could see bright lights encircling me from behind. Turning around, I saw that a car had pulled over behind me. Whoever was in the car didn't seem like they were in a rush to help out. They just sat there with the lights on, watching. "Need a hand?" the man yelled from his window, finally. Sheepishly looking from him to the tire iron in my hand, I shouted back, "Yeah, no matter how many times someone shows me how to change a tire, I always forget." He stepped out of the car and made his way towards me carrying a large flashlight. He was big, stood at least 6.5 feet tall and had probably 100 pounds on me, all muscle. "You don't have a jack?" he asked. I think. What does it look like?" He just stared at me for a few seconds. I noticed he was sweating. It must have been 15 degrees out. Why was he sweating? "It's a compact piece of metal. It extends out," he said. "Could you take a look in the trunk? I'm just not having any luck," I asked. "Here's what I'll do. I'll shine my flashlight over your shoulder to give you some extra light, and then if you still can't find it, I'll try to look for you." When I turned around to look back in the trunk, I thought, if his car lights are on, why does he need a flashlight? In that split second of realization, I heard heavy, fast footfalls on the gravel, and someone struck the back of my head. Darkness closed in around me from every side. I woke up in a dimly lit room. It looked more like a cell. The one swinging light illuminating different parts of the room on each pass seemed a bit on the nose, but at least I'm alive. What was illuminated was a metal door to my right with what looked like a mail slot, a cot with a mattress to my left, and a series of dolls facing me. They looked like something my grandmother would have had in a spare bedroom. But they didn't look worn. Even in the low light, they looked almost brand new. Taking my focus off the dolls, I tried to feel the huge lump I probably had on my head, but my hands were tied down. I tried forcing them apart, but it was no use. My legs were also tied down, so standing wasn't an option either. It was then I realized I wasn't gagged and was about to start screaming, but that's when I heard the footsteps. Footsteps and the sound of something being dragged. Something metal. What was strange was the footsteps seemed out of time, like one leg was being favored. Suddenly, the noises stopped, right at the door. The mail slot started to move. A hand flipped up the slot and a pair of red eyes peered back at me. As quickly as it was opened, the slot was shut. I started to hear giggling from the other side of the door.
Oh.
It went on for what felt like forever. Then the handle started to turn, the door creaked open, and a very large figure stood in the doorway. He was dressed in a circus clown outfit and had a tire iron in his hand. His red eyes locked with mine, and he started giggling. Then he walked into the small room. He arched his body backwards with the tire iron dragging across the floor. From the terrible noise, it sounded like concrete. He was so tall that he had to hobble forward in order to reach down to drag the tire iron across. He made his way into the room, straightened up, and turned to face me.
"Looks like silly,"
silly fly fell into my web, he said as he laughed. Then he bent down till he was eye to eye with me. Looks like all my children, he motioned to the wall of dolls, will have something to eat. I mean they'll have entertainment just a sec. He dropped the crowbar and pulled out note cards as it clanged to the ground and started mumbling. Laugh at the door and then drag the crowbar and oh, damn it! The note cards cascaded all around us in the small room as he flung the stack into the air, punched the door, and stood in front of the dolls facing away from me. I gave him some time to collect himself before asking, "So, what's the situation here, bud?" He turned around. A dejected look painted his face. "What's the point?" he said as he sat down on the cot next to me. It takes so much work and no one cares. They scream and that's it. Nobody appreciates what goes into this." "Well, that's because it's unfocused and sloppy." He stared at me. "What?" "Look, I know you're trying to do a thing here with the dolls and the contacts and the clown suit, but anybody with eyes can tell your heart's not in this." "What are you talking about?" "Theatricality is good. This is a visual medium, but you're overloading your audience. You gotta pick one aspect and focus on it. Personally, I think the dolls would work on their own." He lifted up the chair and raised me to eye level. He stared at me. I could feel his grip on the chair start to tighten, and noticed the muscles in his forearms start to show even through the billowy robes of the clown suit. Maintaining eye contact, he slowly lowered me back onto the ground. Then he sat on the cot adjacent to me and burst into tears. All my limbs confined, I rubbed my head against his massive form in an attempt to comfort him. "Oh no, buddy! Oh no, it's okay. You're gonna kill so many people. So many." I will?" he asked through sobs. "Of course you will. What's your name?" Bruce." "Okay, Bruce. Let's work this out. When do you get up every morning?" Like 6 a.m. 6:30 if I'm really worn out." "Look, Bruce, if we're going to make this work, you need to be honest with me. I'm gonna ask you again. When do you get up every morning?" He hung his head in shame. "Noon." "And do you know why you get up so late?" "'Cause I'm tired." "I don't think that's it. Have you ever heard of resistance?" Bruce had a quizzical look on his face. "When you don't want to do something?" "Close. You're in the right ballpark. It's a concept in the self-help world. It's basically a force that works to stop you improving yourself and becoming the person you're meant to be." "Okay." "What do you think resistance is stopping you from improving?" I don't know." "I think you do. How many people have you killed?" He puffed out his chest in pride. 5. "But how many people know about it?" That started Bruce crying again. "Nobody. They're either missing persons or victims of the Wichita slasher or the Des Moines killer. When do I get my credit?" "It's okay, bud. Best way to start solving a problem is to identify it. Resistance is holding you back. It's holding you back from being recognizable enough to stand out from the crowd. And you know how we beat it?" He stared up at me from his knees through tear-soaked hands. "How?" "You have coffee?" He seemed taken aback by the question. "Yeah, I can get some." "Good. Go grab some." Also, get 2 pens, some paper, and a desk for us." "What are we going to do with that?" "We're going to figure out how to make your work as personal as possible." He spoke as he untied me from the chair. "Why are you doing this?" I massaged my wrists as I responded. "Bruce, I work with so many people who whine and complain about their life, but they don't do anything about it. I try to help them, but the main problem is they don't want to change. They have no passion about anything besides getting to the end of the week. I've seen more passion in you in the past hour than I've seen in 10 years of life coaching." I reached up to place my hand on his boulder-like shoulder. "We're gonna do great things for your life." The venue had completely sold out, one of the largest in the Midwest. Usually utilized by bands with huge followings, this event was for just one man. The motivational speaker/life coach who went from middling success on the small-town circuit to globally recognized phenomenon in a matter of months. Crediting his newfound success to a special client refocusing him, this was the last stop on his tour of the US before starting his international tour. Fans were crowding the entrance hoping to see him pull up in his tour bus. Trying to occupy themselves while they waited, some fans started watching the news on the TV through the window of the bar next door. The top story blared out that a dead body of a man was found by the side of Interstate 96 outside of Mount Hope. The small porcelain doll found beside the body an unmistakable calling card of the Doll Man, a serial killer who'd been ravaging the Midwest for months. This brought the total known victim count to 30, placing the Doll Man well on his or her way to becoming the most prolific serial killer in US history. Police were in a crisis as these killings started happening out of nowhere. One of the investigating officers was quoted saying, "I've never seen anything like this. These killings are methodical, planned out, and show no signs of slowing down. It's like it just went from 0 to 60.